We're on the hunt today for the elusive black trumpet mushroom. That's Craterellus fallax or cornucopioides, depending. It's a delicious and rare mushroom, and in this region, it's about the closest thing to truffle that we've got. They just keep going all along here. Look at this. Look at this. They're just everywhere. I think we're gonna find some, and I think we're also gonna find potentially some other edible mushrooms. Maybe some chanterelles, maybe hedgehogs, who knows? When I'm foraging for black trumpets, I'm gonna look for a nice diversity of hardwood trees, oaks and beech and maple. We've got some beech trees and we've got maple. And yeah, more. Is that oak? Is that an oak tree right there? And I'm gonna look at washes, areas that are kind of swampy, mossy, low-lying areas, even on a hillside, often in a depression. That's where you might find some black trumpets. This right here looks like a great spot. But they'll just be scattered throughout. Sometimes singles and sometimes in clusters. And they can be as big as like 6 inches. And when they start out, you know, they'll just be little tiny guys. Black trumpets, just like chanterelles, are mycorrhizal. They have complicated, specific relationships to the root systems of trees. They are not something that we can just grow at North Spore for that reason, and they are all the more special for it. Let's see here. I think we may have some hedgehog mushrooms. And these will be around for a little bit. Usually they come out a little later, but what I'm looking for, they're a little unassuming, little just tan top, but I'm looking for teeth underneath. Yep, this is Hydnum repandum, or the other one is Hydnum umbilicatum. And these are relatives of chanterelles, and they'll get nibbled on by things, but they typically don't get buggy, which is really cool. And they've, sort of like lion's mane, they've got these spines underneath. And they're gonna be growing on the ground, terrestrial, and they might be a little clustered, they might be a little smushed together, but typically not big clusters, and they are very choice edibles. So this is a great find. Really happy about these. And as I said, I'm gonna clean them up in the field. No bug holes there. And that is gonna make for a good topping to a steak or piece of chicken. And there's some more around here too. Clean them up a little bit. Look at that, there's fern growing right through it. Yeah. A couple other little tiny ones. Phones can be great tools for foraging. If you have an app like Seek, iNaturalist, or just Google Lens, they can help get you started with mushroom identification, a lot of the better known species, but they should never be your primary source. I believe that if we find good black trumpets, my app will be able to identify that just fine, but you should always compare to a good identification book. So we're coming to a pretty low spot here, and I think that maybe where it's really wet and where some of the leaves are up, right there, yes! Look at this, boom. Black trumpets all over here, you see that? Oh, there's a bunch. And these guys can be hard to see, they blend right in, but once you see one of them, poof, they can just appear to you, a whole field of them. They just sort of come into focus. And they can be gray to tan to black in color. The inside is darker than the outside, typically. They have this veiny, wrinkled look to them, these false gills, no true gills. That's a similar characteristic that they share with chanterelles as well. And they have this odor that is just intoxicating, really unlike anything else, wonderful and earthy and fruity all at once. They are also known as the poor man's truffle for that reason. Gold mine here, love these guys. you'll notice they're not actually in the mud. They're not actually like in the mud. They're right next to it on the little bumps and on the little depressions, but not like in water. They're not gonna like that as much. They just keep going all along here. Look at this. Look at this. They're just everywhere. While looking for black trumpets, we can't help but look for other great species that fruit around the same time in the Northeast. Chanterelles are a really great find in the same areas that you'll find black trumpets. Here you can see black trumpet and a yellowfoot chanterelle side by side. And these are close relatives. And one of the things you can look at to really see that are these false gills underneath. They have these ridges, these wrinkles, instead of true thin gills. And on the chanterelle, they're deeper and they're forking, but you can see that similarity on these for sure. And that just shows you why they call them black chanterelles sometimes. Wow, what a day. So yet another wonderful chanterelle species, similar to the other ones we've talked about. Here's the golden chanterelle, a larger species, still has those same thicker ridged forking gills, that cheddar color, not in a cluster. Beautiful, beautiful example. Just a little asterisk on mushroom names. A lot of the names for mushrooms came over from Europe and are based off of those species. And as genetic analysis has gotten better, people have realized that the mushrooms that we have in the US are often part of complexes, many different species that are similar. And so the names are still changing as DNA analysis gets better, but you have whole groups kind of falling under generic names, and we'll often say complex or clade when talking about a mushroom like Cantharellus or Siberius, yes. Here we've found some scaly vase chanterelle. This is a common chanterelle lookalike. This used to be known as Gomphus floccosus, now it's Turbinellus floccosus, names always changing. And these guys are just like chanterelles in that they have forking false gills that are really cool and wrinkly ridges on the sides. And they do have a funnel shape that chanterelles will share, as you can see here. But it's gonna be a much deeper vase shape, and they're gonna be a darker orange inside with these feathery flaps here and patches. So this is not an edible species. You don't want to eat this guy. It is known for causing nausea, upset stomach, diarrhea, vomiting. Stick with these delicious chanterelles here. Well, we had a phenomenal day in the woods looking for black trumpets. We filled our basket to the brim, and along the way, we found a number of other really prized edibles. Whenever looking for mushrooms, it's super important to make sure you're 100% on the identification. Don't put something in your mouth and swallow it if you're not sure. So it's important to have numerous primary sources. When you have a really abundant day like we had today, you're probably not going to cook all of this up for dinner tonight. So you've got to think about preserving. Black trumpets dry really well, so dry them and store them properly. As for chanterelles and hedgehog mushroom, you're better off cooking them first and then freezing. So if you're interested in learning more about foraging and maybe even growing your own mushrooms, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on social media, and check out our website at northspore.com.
Hydnum.